Hi, welcome to One Eye on the Page. I am Scott. It is Five-Year Battle Agatha Christie, years 1961 through 1965. Let's go ahead and get started. As I mentioned last week, Christie's output has slowed down. Last week we did 1956 through 1960, and there were only 5 books, which is generally a pretty good output for most writers, but Christie had been putting out during one 5-year period, I believe 1931 through 1935, or possibly the 5-year period before that, 13 books. This time, 6 books from 1961 through 1965. So let's go ahead and go over them. Book number 1, published in 1961, is The Pale Horse. It is not a series book, but it does have the character Ariadne Oliver in a bit of a minor role. Basically, a woman gives a priest a list of names, and then the priest is killed after. It comes across as a little bit supernaturally. It is very hokey. A term that I tend to use a lot when it comes to late era Agatha Christie books. I will say that this book, like a lot of the Miss Marple books that I have read that I have described as hokey, still ends up being entertaining despite the hokiness. I am not going into this book for the mystery of it because, quite honestly, I don't think it's necessarily easy to figure out what happened because I don't think it's written as well as it could have once been in her heyday in the 30s or thereabout. But again, still entertaining, but flawed. I would say, and this is a term I don't like to use generally, this would be a guilty pleasure book for me. I don't think there's a lot of merit to the book, except for the fact that I enjoy it. So obviously that is our first book. It is going to be in the number 1 position for right now. Book number 2, also published in 1961, is Double Sin and Other Stories. It is, of course, a short story collection. It has some prose stories in it, some Marple, and some that come across almost to have a supernatural turn. And I have to say, I think Christie does supernatural better than she does the spy and espionage and political stories, but generally they're not great, except of course for the Harley Quinn stories, which are amazing. But otherwise, they're kind of like, okay. So I don't think they're great here. I don't think that the stories overall are that great. One of them, Wasp Nest, basically just relies on a lot of coincidence. It's it's not pro really using his gray cells to solve a crime. It's just him being in the right place at the right time and just being intelligent enough to figure out, oh, because I saw this and I saw this and I saw this, I figure out this. It's it's not great. I'm gonna go and put this one under the Pale Horse. Published in 1962 is The Mirror Cracked from Side to Side, our second Miss Marple book with mirrors in them. It is about a famous actress. She's at this public event, and a woman dies there uh, after having taken the drink away from the actress because the actress had accidentally made her spill her drink. So it's assumed, oh, that was meant for the actress. Other people died during the investigation of this, and it's just all in all, this was a fun read. This is a book that I would expect written during the 30s. Uh, I have said several times that The Murder at the Vicarage is my favorite Miss Marple book. It still is, but I do admit this book is better plotted than The Murder at the Vicarage. The Murder at the Vicarage, my love for it is in large part based on the narrator. But the plotting and the mystery in this book is better than that book. It's just sometimes one aspect of a book wins you over despite whatever other flaws it may have. But this is still a great novel. Doesn't have the narrator that book did, but overall, just not a book that when I read it last year before I started doing any of this stuff and was not really concerned about 5 year periods, it seemed right at home in the earlier books. So, yeah, this one is actually going to be number one for me. Number four, published in 1963, is The Clocks, a Hercule Poirot novel. I see you, Wash. Don't do it. You jerk. Um, I don't like this. Poirot doesn't. In addition to Poirot being grumpy Poirot now, uh, it almost seems like he oftentimes has to do, I guess, gimmicks. Like the whole 12 Labors of Hercules was a gimmick kind of thing. And this one is where he basically says he's going to solve a case without going to crime scenes or talking to witnesses or suspects. And it's like, okay. All right. But a man is found dead, surrounded by a clock. A man is found dead, surrounded by clocks. A woman discovers him, runs out screaming into the arms of a special branch agent. Oh, good. Espionage. Yay. And the book is basically two parts. I'm going to go ahead and book you down, okay? There you go. It's two parts. Solving the case. And this part, basically, that's a spy tale. Um, we know by now how I feel about Christine spy tales. Uh, it's a novel, so it kind of has a step up for me. And really, that's the only thing that's saving it from being under Double Sin and other stories. I don't like it. I don't like Christie spy stories. I'm not going to explain again because I have explained it many times, and it's like my children writing essays. It's like you're just using words now to say the same stuff you've already said. And see how I just use words to fill up space there? Okay. The Clocks. All right, and then Christie rounds out this 5 year period with two Miss Marple books. So other than the short stories in Double Sin, we only got one Hercule Poirot book this 5 year period. Next 5 year period, we get two, but nothing compared to previous output. So published in 1964 is a Caribbean mystery. Miss Marple is on vacation. That's just amusing to me because many of her final books are her taking vacations. It's like, wow, she gets to get. Although, I mean, I guess it makes sense. It's like, wow, you sure do have a lot of murders in St. Mary's Mead, but now you just have a lot of murders wherever Miss Marple goes. So she's on vacation in the Caribbean. Starts out with coincidence, which you just have to expect with Christie novels now. She talks to a Major Palgrave who talks about an incident before, and then he is found dead the next day. This one, despite a lot of coincidences and a lot of characters that are kind of typical Christie characters, I think they actually work pretty well in this setting. Maybe having these type of people on vacation works. But yeah, I think the setting helps. I think the mystery, well, not world changing, is still pretty good. I think the murderer doesn't automatically pop out, although perhaps you could say it would seem like it would after you find out who the murderer is. But overall, just really, really good novel. Um, See, this one's difficult. Is it better than the Mirror Cracked? I think the Mirror Cracked, I think, just feels better. And I'll be quite honest. This could be something that I say tomorrow. No, 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 no. A Caribbean Mystery is better. But today, it's the Mirror Crack. But A Caribbean Mystery is just under it for now. Uh, by the time I edit this and publish it, I may change my mind. I may change my mind by the time I do the list of the books in order. But number 6 is published in 1965, another Miss Marple book at Bertram's Hotel. She's on vacation, although it's just basically at a hotel, not really at the Caribbean, so it's not as expensive. Although she didn't pay for that vacation, so it's set at a hotel. We have a murder mystery. We have a criminal gang. We have doppelgangers. Uh, yeah, this is not a good book. I don't know that it's a bad book, but I will say, going over the books that I had to talk about, this is the Miss Marple book that I remember the least. And I read the Miss Marple books in order, chronological order, when I read them. So this was one of the last 3 Miss Marple books, I believe, that I read. But yeah, it's not interesting, especially after we had the Mirror Crack from Side to Side and A Caribbean Mystery. It's just a disappointment. I would say I think it's better than the Clocks, but still not a good book. Just 6 books this 5-year period. I said a couple weeks back, do I think any of the books published after 1951 are going to be in the running for the top book overall or even in the quarterfinals? No, my opinion still holds. We got a couple more videos before we fill out the top 11 because there's 11 5-year periods basically. Uh, but I still think there are a couple pretty good Miss Marple books in here. So, but we have at number 6 is Double Sin and Other Stories. Just mediocre short stories. Short story collections are always going to have a harder struggle than novels for me. Coming in at number 5 is the only Perot book this 5-year period. It is The Clocks. It doesn't have Perot really doing a lot, and it's also essentially a spy book also. So yeah, not my jam. Number 4 is At Bertram's Hotel, the last Miss Marple book of the 5-year period. Just a disappointment when compared to the other 2. It just a total cluster, really. I will say it wasn't interesting, but car accidents can be interesting too. Number three is The Pale Horse, which is the only non-series novel of this 5 year period. It was fun, not a particularly well plotted or written book, but it was fun. And then we have the next two, which I think you have books 3 through 6 are like way down here, and books 1 or 2 are way up here for this 5 year period. But coming in at number two is A Caribbean Mystery, a Miss Marple book, just a fun read, a good mystery. These two Miss Marple books could be written during her golden age. They're just very good books. And number one is The Mirror Cracked from Side to Side. No, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and keep it number one. It's number one. I kind of want to just pick these two books and put them in together, but I'm gonna say The Mirror Cracked from Side to Side is number one. I'm sitting that in stone. I'm not changing it unless I film a new clip for this and put it in this place instead. Okay, but that is it. The years 1961 through 1965, 6 books written. 2 Miss Marple books are at the top slots. We have 1966 through 1970 next time, and it doesn't really get better. You know what? I have at least one book that I think right now will probably be in the number one spot, but we will see what happens next week. So until then, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I will talk to you then.